Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about starting a recruitment agency with email only. So we're only going to be using emails to actually run the business, and there has been a huge amount of benefits. I've seen the industry grow over time and gear more towards email only. I'll talk about my experience a bit more, but I want to start with a little story. And it was going back, I think, about 6, 7 years, where I worked for a company and they had a huge amount of data. They've been running for years. And I said to the manager, look, I'm closing all these deals by email. I'm cold calling, they're giving me an email, and then they're coming back to me on email. Why don't we just email? And the boss said to me, no, cold calling is the only thing that works, blah, blah, blah. Very old school. We were still closing deals by cold calling. And I said to the boss, um, look, give me a chance. Let me send these emails out. And he goes, no, people will unsubscribe. We need to keep the data. And I thought to myself, I said to him, so why have we got the data then if we're not using it? And he didn't know what to say. So we were collecting all these emails, but we weren't actually using it. And two, two, killing one bird, what is it? Two birds with one stone. Some people prefer email, some people prefer phone. So over time, I've honed my process around email, and my conversion rate's been so much higher by email. In fact, I don't even ever need to cold call, or I don't even want to cold call no more. That includes candidates and clients as well, depending on experience level. But we'll go into it and we'll show you the pros and cons and the negatives, and we'll go through it all. So, is it even possible to build a recruitment agency just by using email only? Now, depends what you expect with building an agency. At some point, you're going to have to speak to somebody, whether that's a client or candidate. And the important thing to note is you may have the first touch point, so you may actually just cold call or cold email, and it might go out to people and they might come back to you and ask to schedule a call. That, in fact, is much easier of a call because it's an organized call. They want to speak to you. Yeah, that's the difference. Don't think you're never going to speak to someone if you use this method. I just wanted to make that clear. So, I tracked over the last 2 years, 86% of all my conversions were email first touch point. I'm more geared towards email, so the metric is obviously going to be much higher. However, my conversion is way, way higher. So, all my clients pretty much all come through email, 9 times out of 10. I would say the ones that came from cold call were very early on in the business, and they're still stuck with me. Yeah. The beauty of it is most people have an email address as well. So it's very hard to get hold of the CEO if they haven't got a direct line or one of the managers. A lot of people have just extension numbers and they're not publicly available. Everybody's email is publicly available. Once you have one person's email, the format is usually the same. I've made plenty of videos on email, marketing, how to find people's email. Please have a look at the channel if you're interested in finding that information out. Yeah. And I believe over I think since I began starting this, recruitment journey, people don't want to be called, and this is the most important point. Especially out of the blue from a cold call. I've never brought anything from a cold call. I can tell you that now. Our generation, Gen Z, millennials, the phone is like I don't even pick up my phone nowadays, especially my personal phone. If it's not business, I don't really pick it up. And people don't want to be disturbed. People are doing more work and their teams are smaller and they've got less time. Time is valuable. These people are selling, that are working in these companies that you're trying to reach, are actually selling their time for money, working for other people. So their time is really valuable. They're seeing it as you're kind of stealing their time. And they feel we would reach out to you. And with the advent of the internet, if you need something, you Google it. If I need, I don't know, a plastic surgeon, I don't wait for them to cold call me. Not that I'm getting plastic surgery, but I would wait. I would go on Google and I'd look up and I'd call them. So don't call us, we'll call you. However, email is easily accessible for most people, and people always check their emails regardless. Yeah. I personally I can't remember the last time I cold called. I done some the other week, and I think that was sheer out of boredom rather than anything else. And I just wanted to test the market. The other beauty of it is data is king. So you can easily track. I lose track. I mean, I've got a CRM. I never input anything. God knows when was the last time I added a company, unless they're an actual client. But it is easy to track by email. You can go back and you can see, oh, I emailed them 6 months ago and they never replied. Oh, I didn't get back to this person. So you can easily find that out. Yeah. And whether it's possible to answer the question, I've helped hundreds of people set up agencies with just this method, and they're shocked at the way it works, and they can't believe they were ever cold calling uh, any time before. So, about the positives and negatives. So, the negatives are that you lose that human connection, and that is something that email can never ever solve. I send voice notes through email as well, so I try and keep that, positivity and that sort of how you come across, and that human connection is worth way more. Yeah. My best clients have all come from cold call. I showed 86%. The 14% are probably my better clients, weirdly. There are some good ones via email, but I talk to them more on the phone than email. I close them by email, but the decision was done. Um, we talk mainly on the phone. Actually, we don't even email some of them. My best client, we never email, just CVs, and we always call. So email marketing is actually hard to get right as well. And people think it's just about blasting the email, but you have to be very conscious of, have you emailed too much? Is this email too long? Have I said something that can come across as, just a pushy salesman that's blanketly sending this to everyone? Yeah. And the other negative is, if you get blocked, if you're sending too many emails, it's pretty much over for that client. You have to find someone else in the organization. And if your email gets blacklisted by their actual web server or their email server, then you can never get through. So there are ways around that, and it's a bit more detailed that I wouldn't go into, setting up like a different domain and forwarding your emails on. But you know, the other thing is, everyone's different. Some clients have said to me, God, I wish someone would just pick up the phone and talk to me. I hate emails. I never check my emails. There are some old school clients out there that want you to actually cold call. I would say about 5% of them actually prefer cold calls, because they want to hear if you've got any skin in the game, so to speak, and if you know what you're talking about, and they want that quick, come and call me, explain everything, and then go. Rather than, I'm not going to read your email, I get 12 of them every hour. So you can stand out through a cold call. The other thing is, if you can close a client by email, if you send a cold email and they come back to your first email, 9 times out of 10 it's about timing and how good your email is. The other time is, it's more about, hey, look, are they saying yes to everybody through email? Which 9 times out of 10, I used to think that was the case, but it's not. However, if you can close a client easily, probably someone else can. But it's about your service you give to them that makes you stand out as well. The other negative that I hate is you cannot negotiate through email very well. Somebody comes back on an email and says, what's your price or what's your fee? It's very hard for you to come back and say, oh, this is our price. On the phone, you can kind of say, like, other things around it, but on the phone, on email, it's very difficult. So, positives, you can automate the whole process. And I've got a whole system setting up where anyone can just set it up. And then, I've sent out, in my first month of one agency, was 100k emails. And I think also, positive side, it's not just clients, candidates prefer it as well. They're at work, they don't want to talk to you because their boss might be listening. So many various reasons as well. So candidates also, it's 24/7 emails. Cold calling someone at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday is a bit weird, but an email is, oh, I'll check that later, as well. The other positive is, it's very cheap to do. All you need is basically an email, and you can start off from there. And over time, you can track a lot more metrics. You can get better at it. It's a skill. Email marketing is actually a skill. It's not just about sending. If you're doing the same thing over and over and not getting results, probably, there's people out there that are way better than me. Probably people that I've consulted with and taught, they probably do way better than me over time. And the other thing is, I think clients and candidates prefer it. And if you are looking to start an agency part time, this is probably going to be way better for you. Because if it's around your day job, you can be at work and your emails can be sent out, and you just on your lunch break you can check over time and see if you got any replies really. So what you're going to need is obviously this bog standard website, email, LinkedIn. You're going to need email templates. There is a link in the description below, and you can click that, and there's loads of email templates on there. KPIs, you're going to have to set yourself KPIs and targets. What are you going to be sending out? How many are you going to do a day? And you must stick to those. You must adhere to them. If you want to start it lower, I always recommend 100 a day. If you're going to start off with 30 a day, stick to 30 a day. You need to be consistent. It boggles the mind how many people come to me and say, like, oh, I've done it for the first week and it didn't work. This is a marathon, not a sprint. You're building your brand, you're getting your name out there, and to the point where it's, people start to think of you. I remember I had it where people were coming to me and they were saying, oh, not so much people were coming to me because I haven't built like a traffic funnel and there isn't much traffic out there, but recommendation and people leaving companies and going to another company and bringing me with them was absolutely phenomenal. And that takes time. It's not something that will pop up, over the next few weeks, especially when you're early on. And, a software and a system in place will definitely aid you in that. It's not mandatory. You can do it manually. I started off manually for months and then I built a system around it. So target wise, you want to be targeting one client a day through email marketing. I think that's a realistic thing in your head, especially early on. It's much easier email marketing when you start off. It gets harder once you've saturated the market and you've emailed everyone, depending on the size of your niche. Especially early on, you should be hitting a client a day if you've done correctly, and maybe with my help, you can hit a lot more. Keeping up with the volume again, it's going to be key as well. And the beauty of it is that data, you collect all those emails, and over time you can reuse those emails, and you don't have to keep searching for them. You don't have to keep either buying the data or finding it yourself. I wouldn't advise buying data, by the way, but you can start to use it again to the point where I just have to get my CRM up, pull up all the emails, and I'll say, yeah, I want to blast out, 30,000 emails. Not that I would do that, but you get the idea that you've got the data there. It just needs a bit of frequently updating and, going through and keeping it tidy. So reusing the data is going to be, that becomes very valuable, that data as well, because that if you ever go to sell your business, if you say I've got X amount, I've got 80,000 emails of direct clients, somebody would buy your business just for that data, especially if it's up to date. So keep it up to date, keep it, steady and clean. And, I don't really want to, talk about scalability at this stage. But I've made so many cold calls, and, I think the most that I could make in a day was maybe 200 sloppy ones or 150 cold calls, and no one humanly possible. I've seen someone do about 300 and they're a stockbroker, and that's what's expected of you. But humanly possible, by the time the phone dials, you can only make, one call in a minute. You're never really going to make that many over time. So the only way to actually scale your business is to have a system. You can only do so much as a human on the phone, but actually email, you can email 1,000 clients in 1 hour, if that. But you can't make 1,000 calls. So you can actually scale your business and hit more candidates and more clients through that time. And it works for both candidates and clients. And my best candidates, my worst clients have come from email, but my best candidates have all come through email. And I have the highest response rate. If I call 100 clients, I will probably get more response via email. Same with the candidates. So it's a much higher response rate through candidates and clients as well. And to the last point, I just want to highlight, I've got a handful of clients that I've never ever spoken to. I've never spoke to them on the phone. I have no intention to talk to them on the phone. And I've made placements. I still remember the first placement. It was a lady called Aisha, and it was a company, I won't mention the name, but I literally didn't speak to the candidate and I didn't speak to the client. I would not advise not speaking to the candidate. However, on the client side, you can probably sometimes get away with it. I have times where I'm locked into portals now. Companies are going around these CRMs and they're not even talking to recruiters. It's very much, I get an email alert. I'm on so many of these portals on the big companies. I get email alerts. These are the CVs we need, and then I get an email back. Can you book this person in? So that human element is gone. They're automating the recruitment process. Recruitment agencies are going away in terms of that one to one, especially with the big companies. That one to one interaction. It's more like, hey, who can find us the best person? We'll take it from whoever. So the doors are opening up to most people over time, especially if you're early on. It used to be you used to have a big shiny office. Now it's very much the case of you can actually build a brand or an agency from your home, really, from your kitchen table, wherever. Um, you don't really need to have an office, but in terms of me making consistent placements, I have clients that I've never spoke to, and it used to be very, very weird to admit that. And over time, I think that will change and it will just become the norm. And this is the time where you're transitioning. You've got maybe 2 years before this actually changes the whole recruitment industry. People have talked about automation, but this is just part of it. And, this is a human to human interaction game. And it isn't the case of, I just want to do it by email because it doesn't suit my personality. Fine, absolutely do it. But if it's the case of, oh, I just want to do less work, then it ain't going to work for you. I follow the market. The market tells me what works. I don't tell the market what works. Somebody says cold calling is the best because, I can speak to the client and I can negotiate well with them. But that's all personal. That's all selfish on your part. That is not what the industry wants or the client wants. This is a service business. We're serving clients and candidates. So always remember that. Follow the market. It will dictate it to you. And I hope you enjoyed this video and I haven't rambled on too long. If you got any questions, let me know. Take care.